Okay, here's a more detailed video of how to make a horn for this game. I'm making horns for CSX locomotives right now. I'm currently making a horn for every single CSX locomotive I could find on the download station. So I typed CSX in the search engine. I downloaded every locomotive I could find, except one of them. The name of this locomotive was the BQ23-7. I downloaded the locomotive, but I could not make a horn for it, sadly, because I could not find a video on YouTube where the locomotive blows its horn for long enough to make a sound file out of it. Not only that, but this locomotive is extremely ugly. Like, apparently it's so ugly even its owners could not stand to look at it. But man, I clicked on the only video I could find of this locomotive on YouTube, and as soon as I saw this locomotive, I was like, "Yeah, that thing is so like it's so ugly. Get it out of my sight." Like, man, that locomotive is hideous. Anyway, right now I'm making a horn for the AC 4400 CW and the AC 6000 CW. This one. So here's how you make a horn. You just press Control N on Content Manager. I'm not really sure how to make a horn on Trainz New Era yet because it has a very complicated process. But if you make a horn on Trainz 12, it should work on Trainz New Era as well. So anyway, now it's asking you, what do you want to create? Because it has lots of different things to choose from. Let's see, I'm going to click horn sound as soon as I can find it. Yeah, horn sound. And then click new on the bottom of that window, and it's gonna now you have this window where you can basically just describe specifically what type of item it's going to be. Over here it says username. Just name the object that you're making. So I'm gonna say it's a CSX AC 6000 CW horn. Okay. Oops. Okay, now here under category class, this isn't really necessarily that important. A lot of people actually skip this step, but it's basically under category class I click ZH horn sound to know, so that the game knows what category this is under. Now under author, I type the name of the person who made this horn, which is me, of course. I type my my Trainz username, which actually this username was created by my father when I was a kid. Not sure why he chose a misspelled version of my name. Who knows? Anyway. To this day, I do not know the reason. Anyway, category era. And basically, I'm not really sure when this locomotive was made, but I'll look that up later. Probably somewhere between the 1990s and the 2000s. So that should be a good bet for now. And then category region, basically the country this item is located in. And of course, that's the United States. Well, actually, now that I think about it, the AC 6000 is probably also in Canada and Mexico. Let me make sure. Apparently, the AC 6000 was built for the United States and Australia. So, let's see. I already have the United States selected. I'm also going to select Australia because it's apparently also an Australian locomotive. Okay, so contact email, that's just the email address of the person that created it. So of course I'm going to use my email address. 82467. I have to be really careful when typing my email address. One time I accidentally typed the password of my email address in that slot, and I was like, uh-oh. Then luckily I caught it before I ended up uploading it, or that would have been a disaster. contact website. I don't really have a website, so I just use my YouTube channel as my contact website. After all, it is a method by which I can be reached. So here... Okay, let's see. Description. Not really much to say in the because the title pretty much says what it is. But I'll just say a horn for the CSX AC 6000 CW. Okay, so what now? What do I have to do now? Okay. A two-part horn is basically, as long as you press the H button, that's as long as the sound will happen. So if you have this selected, it'll be a two-part horn. If you deselect it, it's a one-part horn, which basically means you press the H button one time and it plays the entire sound. The sound marked horn in the folder of this object. But I want to make a two-part horn. I try to make two-part horns for freight locomotives so that you can blow them however way you want at railroad crossings. You know, it's pretty much more entertaining that way. Passenger locomotives, I don't really care if it's a one-part horn or a two-part horn, but still I try to make it a two-part horn. If I can't find a long enough sound file though, I'll end up using a one-part horn, which I have done in the past. Okay, there's not really much else. Usernames in different languages in case you wanted to translate the name of the object into another language. I usually don't do that because the only two other languages I know are Spanish and Japanese. I can read Korean, but I can't speak it. And I can read a little bit of Chinese. But two of those languages aren't even supported by this game. Okay, so images. You need to have a preview image to upload it to the download station. A lot of objects that are uploaded from a website don't have an image, which is a little bit annoying sometimes, but it's not really necessary since you already know what you're downloading. But one issue with that is sometimes you have an error message that says that the image points to a non-existent file because it says that because the person went through the process of creating the thumbnails container but didn't actually put a thumbnail in it, which is a little bit annoying because you can't use the object until you fix that issue. Anyway, images. I don't have an image yet. I just need to find one, so I usually use Google Images for that. So just type CSX. Oops, what's wrong with this thing? Okay, CSX. Oh, it's already here. CSX AC 6000 CW YN3. Then just look for a picture. And this looks like a pretty good picture, I guess. It's a picture of all three of the locomotives, all three of the paint schemes. So I guess I'll use that. I usually use a picture of a real locomotive though, and that one's from a train simulator. And that one's a model. Let's see. Here's a picture of a real one. Yeah, I'll use that one. It happens to have my favorite of the CSX paint schemes, which is the dark blue one. Save image as... I'll just save it somewhere. Just so I can find it easily, I'll name the image CSX AC 6000 CW. And then just save it. Now over here in Content Creator Plus, I'm going to open that image by pressing on the button with the 3 dots on it. Not sure how that possibly translates as open, but whatever. Anyway, I have it saved in this folder. So I'm going to right click on the image and click copy. This is the mistake a lot of people make. Then I'm just going to paste it here. And there. Now one mistake a lot of people make when they create horns is They go to the folder that has the picture of the image that they're trying to use. Then they just click open instead of actually putting it in the folder first. And that's when this shows up, which is basically the location of the folder it's in. The problem with this obviously is that you can't load an image from a folder on someone else's computer. So if someone else were to try to download this, it wouldn't have the image, and that's how that image points to a non-existent file error shows up. The image has to be in the folder before you can open it. Now for width and height, I usually use 256. Wait, what just happened? Yeah. Okay, 256 by 180. Okay, that's pretty much all I have to do in here. Now Control S to save it. Okay, what? Control M to commit the changes. Yeah, sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it takes multiple attempts. There we go. Now the image is a little bit foggy. I can fix that by right click, edit, open in Explorer. This picture is a little bit too high quality for the game to handle, so it needs to be downsized a little bit. So I'll right click on it, open with paint. Now, most computers already have paint built into it, so it shouldn't be an issue to find it. So, hold on. I'm going a little too fast, aren't I? That's a mistake a lot of people say I make when I teach, that I go too fast. Anyway, where is it? I'm trying to resize it. I forgot what I clicked on. Hold on. Okay, so I click resize, then I click pixels, I deselect maintain aspect ratio, then over horizontal I say 256, where it says vertical I type 180. Now I click OK. Now the picture is resized and it's 256 by 180, which is a file size that is very commonly used in the game. So I press Ctrl S to save it, then just exit out. The picture is now small enough that the game can handle. Now in config file, I double click this, open it with Notepad, where it says Trainz build and it's at 3.4. You want to change that to 3.5. That's the minimum number the game will allow when you try to upload it to the download station. I'm not sure why this number is so important, but it is. If the number is too high, like 3.9 or something like that, it's going to show up as faulty and you're not going to be able to download it either. If you want to make this only compatible with Trainz New Era, you'd use a larger build number. But the obvious issue with that is you won't be able to download it on Trainz 12. You can move it from Trainz New Era to Trainz 12 after downloading it, but the Trainz 12 Content Manager will not download it if the Trainz build is too high. Okay, now we have the horn. We just need to make the sounds for it. Hold on a second. Well, while I'm waiting for this to load, I got some very interesting information. I just found out that the Acela Express derailed on the south side of New York Penn Station while trying to exit the yard on its way to Washington, D.C. Part of the train was still on the platform when it derailed. When it derailed, it actually collided with the side of a New Jersey Transit bi-level car. It's really weird. I think that's the first time the Acela Express has derailed since it entered service. It derailed on a double slip switch, which happens very often on model trains. I did not know that was something that could happen in real life too. In fact, it happens all the time on model trains. A lot of people advise against using double slip switches on toy trains because they can derail. Anyway, if you're looking for articulated auto racks, I found a bunch of them on the download station by typing Auto Max in the search engine. They are pretty much all the kinds that exist. which is good because I've been looking for those for quite some time. Anyway, where is, okay, now I'm gonna make the AC 4400 CW horn. Where is, okay, so to get the sounds, I usually get the sounds from YouTube videos. I download the video that I want to use as a MP4 file, then I convert it to a WAV file, which is a sound file that can be read by the game. Then I edit it using Audacity. So here's how of course you can download YouTube videos onto your computer using another method, but this is just the method I use. I use something called FreeMake Video Downloader. So basically how it works is I go to the video I want. I'll just use this for example. Then I just highlight the entire URL. I click copy. Then over here where it says paste URL, I click that and it automatically downloads it. I already downloaded this video, so I'm not going to download it again. But it asks for which quality and which type of file type you want to download it as. And now that I have the video downloaded, I go to something called FreeMake Audio Converter to convert it to a .wav file. Now, one problem with FreeMake Audio Converter is when I had this antivirus system called McAfee, it kept labeling this as a virus and automatically deleting it before I could even download it. And then I would pause the security temporarily so I could download it. And as soon as it unpaused the security, it would delete it again automatically. Now, I'm pretty sure this isn't a virus because I've downloaded it on my computer several times and I've never had any issues. But for some reason, McAfee thinks it is. So I actually ended up having to uninstall that just to get this to work. There are probably other systems that you could use to convert a MP4 file into its audio and then convert the audio to a .wav file. But this is the best one that I've found so far. Anyway, to convert this to a .wav file, over here where it says audio, just click that. It's going to give you a list of videos that I have on the computer. What was I looking for? The AC 4400 CW. I gotta look for that because I got a lot of videos up here. Keep on that's an AC 6000. AC. Where is it? Oh, here we go. CSX AC 4400 CW. Okay, so then over here where it says convert, then it's gonna ask me what type of file type I want to use. Say to .wav. .wav is the only type of file type the game will open. So I'm going to rename it something that will make it very easy for me to find it. So I'm just going to name it CSX AC 4400 CW horn. The bell was also in this video, so I can get the horn and bell from the same video, which is good. Ideally, you want to be able to get the horn and bell that's from the same video. But a lot of times I end up having to shop around looking for a bunch of videos, having one for the horn and one for the bell. But if you can find the bell from the exact same video, usually it'll sound as believable. It'll sound the most believable. Because, you know, if you find a bell from a different video, it'll just sound so different from the horn. You'll even question if it came from the same locomotive. I've had that issue in the past. Anyway, now that I have a .wav file with a horn in it, I'm going to open Audacity to make the horn files. I'm going to put the horn files in a folder that's on the desktop so they're easier to locate when I want to put them in the horn in order to make the game sound the horn. Okay, so where it says file, import, audio, let's see, CSX AC 4400 CW horn. Just click OK. Now this is now where you see this down arrow, click split stereo to mono, then just delete this one. It only wants a the game only works on mono audio. It does not really like stereo audio. Now we gotta basically just search for the part where the train blows its horn and then use that. This is probably where the horn is because it's usually the loudest part of the video. That's pretty good. Okay, that's probably... Okay, so now that I know where the horn and the bell is, I can just delete everything else because that's just train noise. Edit. Okay, delete. And I know this is probably just the railroad crossing bell and a bunch of other noise in the background, so just delete that as well. Now I'm going to zoom in very closely so I can very easily find what I'm looking for. Let's see. Basically, I'm just gonna move this around until I find. Let's see. Okay, from about here you can actually hear the bell, so I don't want that. Ideally, you don't hear the bell in the background when the horn is being sounded. So, up to the 6 second is basically all I can use. So, this is not nearly loud enough to be heard in the game, obviously, so I'm going to amplify it. And let's see. I usually go all the way. Now, obviously, that's not going to work very well, so I'm going to compress it. Effect, compress. Okay, now it's a lot louder. Still not that loud, so I need to amplify it a little bit more. I usually go up to 5. I might have to make it a little bit louder than that. Usually 5 is enough, but sometimes it isn't. Let's try 10. Now, if it gets so loud that you hear buzzing and a bunch of other stuff, then you want to lower it a little bit, because that's too loud. Okay, that's way too loud. Now it just sounds distorted. And this often takes a lot of trial and error until I get the amount I want. Let's try 7, see what that sounds like. That might work. I don't know. Okay, assuming that was the direction I wanted to go with, how to make the first sound file is, I just highlight this. This is what the horn's going to sound like when it first starts playing. So now I'm going to click on File and click Export Selected Audio. Now this is the start of the horn, so I'm going to name it horn underscore start dot wave. Okay. Now that I have that, I can just delete that. And now I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm making the loop file, which is basically the sound you hear as you continue to hold on to the H button. So I'm just going to highlight all of this and click Edit, Copy. Then on the other side of it, I'm going to click Edit and then Paste. Then, this is a very ingenious technique that I learned in the past. I'm going to click on Effects and click Reverse. Now this side will sound like the reverse side of the other side. And it won't sound like it's repeating. Well, hopefully. And now I'm going to put it on repeat and see what it sounds like. Ideally, it'll sound like the horn is just continuing to blow, but sometimes you can't quite get what you want with the sound you have. You'll still be able to tell that it's the same file repeating a bunch of times. Hold the Shift button and then click on the play button in order to test the sound and make sure it sounds okay on repeat. It sounds kind of okay, I guess. It sounds about as good as I can get out of this file specifically. So, under File, click Export Selected Audio. And since this is the loop file, I'm going to call it horn_loop. Now, I'm going to create the bell sound after this. Now, just save this. Now I'm just going to delete this because I don't need it anymore. It's going to be in the way pretty much. Now, somewhere in here is a bell being sounded. I'm going to have to play it for a while in order to find it. Okay, somewhere around there. Okay, so I need to amplify this area. Okay, oh, not in range. Okay, so compress. See what that sounds like. Ah, can't hear it. Had to, it takes a while for the sound from the laptop to reach the surround sound and the TV, so sometimes there's a pause before that happens. I usually put it on repeat so that the sound keeps playing until I can actually hear it. So let me do that. Okay. I only really want the first bell that you can hear in this because otherwise you'll just keep hearing the Doppler effect over and over again. So let me try this again. Well, unfortunately, because you can hear the engine in the background, you know, you can still tell that the sound is repeating, but you actually might not hear it as easily in the game, and it probably will just sound like the bell is continuing to be rung. Because, you know, it's a lot easier to detect issues like this when you're making the sound than it is in the game, because there are a bunch of other sounds happening in the game that basically drown this out, so you can't hear it every single detail. So under the sound of the engine, you might actually just hear the bell. There's no way to know until I actually test this in the game. Now, I'm probably not going to hear the bell over the sound of the engine at the volume that it is. So I'm going to amplify it just a little bit more, about 5. Let's see what that sounds like. That might be okay. The hardest part most of the time is making the bell. Okay, export selected audio. Now the name, oh, I just realized something. I misspelled horn. I spelled it H-O-W-N instead of H-O-R-N. The keyboard in this laptop is so small, I keep making mistakes like that. But that's not good. If you misspell it, it's not going to play the sound at all. Anyway, this sound that I'm making, the bell sound, is supposed to be called idle spacebar, the number 1, and that's it. Idle 1. Don't make the mistake of putting an underscore between idle and 1, because then the bell will not sound. It has to be idle spacebar, the number 1. Okay. Now I have all the sounds I need to make a 2-part horn. I can just exit out of this right now. Let's see. They got saved to here. So this is the horn loop, horn start, and idle 1. Now I just opened this in Explorer, Control-Shift-E. Okay, I saved the files that I made in a folder called Editing, which is on the desktop, so I just click on this to find the files that I'm looking for. Then I just copy these and paste them here. And that's all there is to it. Now I just exit out of the Explorer and then press Control M to commit it. And now it should have the preview image and all the sound files. I have to commit it again. Now, to test what this horn sounds like in the game, well, I usually test it after I finish making all of the horns that I plan on making that day, but just so you can see what this finished product sounds like, I'll put it in one of these locomotives. So I'll just put it in this one. I hope this isn't one of those locomotives where editing it makes it faulty and you have to do a bunch of other stuff just to get it to work, because I'm not planning on doing all that. Anyway, horn sound, I mean, not Control Shift E. CSX. What am I doing? Okay, CSX AC 4400 CW horn. That's the one that I made. Then just click select. And wait 5 to 10 minutes because this thing is so slow sometimes. Maybe I should maybe it didn't hear me when I pressed select the first time. Maybe I should select it again. Oh, it actually did work. Usually it freezes when I do that. Okay, now that the horn has been changed, press Ctrl S to save it. Now exit out of that. Ctrl M to commit the locomotive. Now I have one locomotive using my new AC 4400 CW horn. Now to test it. Let's see. Right click on it, highlight View In, and then View In Rail Yard. Then it automatically loads rail yard so you can test the locomotive out. Not sure why, but it doesn't play in full screen on this computer. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's see what the horn sounds like. That's not quite what I was expecting it to sound like, but I guess it's okay. It has to be at least that loud to be heard in the game, so I'll call it a job well done. I usually test the bell later on, so I'll test that later. Okay, that's how you make a horn in this game, and pretty much the same process for making other sound effects in this game as well.